Missing. She was cooking up dinners for her new boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Like what?
Just normal dinners, you know. She would make, for instance, I think one night she made pasta for everyone.
Did she ever mention over the pasta dinner that her 2-year-old girl was gone?
No, ma'am. She did not mention to us that Caylee was missing. We were under the impression that Caylee was she was with the nanny. When she would ask us certain questions, you know, or we would ask her about her, then we would just move on because it seemed normal to us. She was with the nanny. She wasn't at our place, so.
Angry protesters nearly around the clock outside the Anthony home. That was a shot of one of them. Everybody with us tonight, a very special guest, Tony Lazzaro's roommate. He lived there with mom, Casey. After the time little Caylee went missing, Nate, thank you for being with us. You stated that she never once mentioned little Caylee was missing?
No, ma'am, she didn't. There was a point where, you know, we had asked her a couple times, hey, you know, how come we haven't seen Caylee in a while? Because when Tony and her first started dating, Caylee had come over to the house a few times. They would go down to the pool or, you know, whatever. Tony's taking them out to dinner and stuff. And so after a point, she just hadn't been coming around, and we'd even asked her, hey, you know, how come you haven't brought Caylee by lately? And it was always, oh, she's with the nanny. They're at either the beach or they're over at Disney World or they're at Universal. And, you know, to us, it is summertime. We were under the impression that Casey was working. So, I mean, during the summer, children are, you know, off doing things. So they're with babies.
How often was Casey Anthony there at the apartment? Every day?
Yes, ma'am.
Every night?
Yes, ma'am.
She spent the night there?
Yes, ma'am.
With Tony Lazzaro?
Yes, ma'am.
And during that time period, little Caylee was not spending the night with her?
No, ma'am.
Where would she say Caylee was?
She said that Caylee was at the nanny's, that when she started staying with us full time, she had said that, you know, there were some problems at home. She didn't want Caylee being subjected to it.
What problem?
I'm not exactly sure on the specifics. I'm not sure if it was problems between her parents or if she was having problems with her parents. I'm not exactly sure as to the nature of the problems, but that she did not want Caylee to be subjected to the environment. So she brought Caylee, she told us that she brought Caylee to the nanny's and that she was going to stay with us in the evenings, which, I mean, we're an apartment that's on a 24-hour schedule. There's constantly people in and out. So to us, it did not seem like a good idea to have Caylee at our apartment full time. So we thought she was doing the good motherly thing. You know, she didn't want to impose herself on the nanny also, so that Caylee would stay there in the evenings and she would stay with us in the evenings.
And nobody thought it was weird that the little baby would spend the night at the nanny's instead of with her mother?
Not really. I mean, a 22-year-old single mother, I'm not sure as to the habits of what a 22-year-old single mother does every day, so we weren't, you know, thinking along those lines as, well, why isn't she with her child every evening?
Did she seem to have a job?
She did. Like, we're gone in class quite often, so we don't know if she was going to actually to work, but she would, you know, bring home groceries from time to time. She didn't seem like she was ever in need of money or anything like that, so it seemed to us like she had a job. When we would ask her about it, you know, if she was sitting home in the afternoon or something, she would, you know, say, well, I'm working from my laptop today here at the house, and, you know, she told us she was an event coordinator. So those type of things, it's one of those things that you would think that someone could do with a laptop and a cell phone. They wouldn't necessarily have to be at an office every time.
Did she tell you guys that she was considering going back to college?
Yes, she had told us that.
Where?
She had said that she had already attended Valencia for some time and that she was thinking about continuing her education at UCF.
So she did say she planned to go to UCF?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware that police are now searching heavily wooded areas there at University of Central Florida for little Caylee?
No, ma'am, I was not until just a few moments ago.
You know, Nate, were you there the evening or the day, I'm not sure of the timeline, when grandmother Cindy Anthony shows up at Tony Lazzaro's apartment to find her daughter, Casey Anthony?
Yes, ma'am, I was there.
What happened?
It was approximately late afternoon, early evening. Tony and I and Casey were all sitting on the couch. Tony and I were playing video games, waiting for the All-Star game to come on for the evening. And there was a knock at the door.
Well, hold on, wait. Casey Anthony was sitting on the sofa watching video games and waiting for the All-Star game to come on?
Yes, ma'am.
While her daughter's missing. Okay. I was just getting the mental image. Go ahead.
And there was a knock at the door. Casey got up to answer the door. It was Amy. I had never met Amy. I don't think...
Amy Huizenga?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Amy Huizenga is allegedly the woman who loaned Casey Anthony her car, and Casey Anthony allegedly took all her checks and wrote them to Target, to all over the place?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead. So
there
Cindy Anthony, Amy Huizenga show up at the door. What happens?
Well, just Amy showed up at first. All we saw was Amy.
Okay.
Amy told Casey that she needed to speak with her, so Casey and Amy stepped outside.
Did Casey Anthony look like she was upset?
Not right at that moment. They had walked outside to discuss something. I cannot attest to what was actually discussed outside. They came back in the house, Amy and Casey, followed by who we did not know at the time that was Casey's mother, but now we know. They were followed by Cindy Anthony back in. Cindy asked Casey
Okay, let me get something straight. When Huizenga shows up at the door, she asked Anthony to come outside?
Yeah, and talk to her.
Okay. Could you hear them? Were there raised voices?
No, ma'am. We could not hear anything from that conversation.
So then they come back in, and with them is grandmother Cindy Anthony?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then what happened?
Cindy asked Casey to get her stuff and to leave with her. And Casey, said that she did not want to leave, but she would go outside and talk to her. The three of them then exited the apartment, and that was the last time that either me or Tony have seen Casey.
Did you hear Cindy Anthony ask, "Where's Caylee"?
No, she did not ask that question while she was at our apartment, no, ma'am.
Did she seem upset?
She did seem a little upset.
Cindy Anthony or Casey Anthony?
Cindy seemed a little upset.
So did Casey Anthony say why she didn't want to leave?
No, she just said, her mother said, "Get your things and let's go." And Casey replied, "I'm not leaving. If you want to talk, let's go outside and talk."
So during this time, did she ever ask you or her boyfriend, Tony Lazzaro, to help find little Caylee?
No, ma'am.
We are taking your calls out to Susie in Arizona. Hi, Susie.
Hi, Nancy. I want to thank you for everything that you do for victims.
Thank you.
My question is there anything that law enforcement could have done differently or might learn from this case? I know they have very limited access to information because of this mother, but do you think they'll learn anything from this?
What about it? To Leonard Padilla, bounty hunter joining us out of California, who put the bond up for Casey Anthony the first time. What do you think?
I didn't quite understand the question, to be honest with you.
Would law enforcement do anything differently?
No, law enforcement's doing a great job. I've worked with law enforcement on things like this before. The toughest job they've got is the stonewalling going on by George and Cindy and Lee. They're protecting Casey to the full extent, and it's mercilessly what they're doing to the system right now. They're just taking advantage of law enforcement.
Did you hear about that $1.5 million book offer?
That was no secret when we left Orlando, that there was some secrets in the 7-digit numbers that were coming up. And when people were asking us about it, we were saying, we heard the same rumor that you guys heard. She acted absolutely like nothing had happened. It's almost like Cindy handles her with kid gloves. George walks a wide circle around her, and Lee just treats her like a little sister.